Well, my name's Jenny. I am co-founder of Oh My God, This I Do. Everybody always asks me why Oh My God, This. Well, when I was in corporate world, I managed a team of like 30 people. And at that time, there was always fires that I had to output. And so my major to-go line was always Oh My God, This, because I was very considerate of individuals who, didn't necessarily take OMG like you're in corporate world, you gotta kind of be careful of the verbiage you use. So, oh my God, this was kind of like my saying, when corporate world was just not giving everything that I needed at the time, ended up with a layoff. I actually decided to take some time off and really consider what I wanted to do. In my corporate kind of field, I was a coordinator for clinical trials. We worked with a lot of pharmaceuticals. And I thought about what was next, something fun, something less hectic and detail oriented that would be, that I could use my skills, but at the same time not be so, uh, what is it, bored. There you go. So I actually ended up going into wedding day coordinating. And so I decided to name my company Oh My God Those. And the reason I decided to do that was because at the time, I was laid off, and one of the portrait places decided to host kind of like a picture portrait for pet parents and yourself. And when I started going there, they told me that I needed a gown that was kind of, presentable. And at the time, I was like, I don't know I don't have a gown. But then I thought about it. I was like, oh, my wedding dress. I just got it dry cleaned. Why don't I just take that and take a picture? And as I kept staring at this picture with myself and my cat, I was like, the wedding industry, coordinating, planning. That's kind of what we do. And it's fun. And I love it. And I like talking. Funny part is that I did not like planning my own wedding, never wanted to. Never wanted to do anything wedding related because coming from a Hispanic background, we do quinceañeras, and that was hectic in itself. And I did never wanted to do it again. However, I am pretty good at doing it for other people. So even though I am talking about wedding planners, I work alongside a lot of wedding planners. Because typically, as a wedding day coordinator, wedding planners typically they'll hire me to do the wedding day portion, specifically if they have multiple clients. Um, if they need an individual to be a wedding day coordinator for a different event and they're stuck in a different event, then they'll typically hire me on the side to come and just do the wedding day coordinating. But most of the time, the wedding planners are handing off everything to me day of. So that's the difference between wedding planner and wedding day coordinator. A wedding planner is going to start from the very beginning. We're talking about venue selection, photography. They're going to set up your timeline from budget planning, financing, making sure that you select, your dress, that you get appointments for your dress. Sometimes wedding planners will speak to all of the vendors for you, depending on the kind of packages that you select. Now, once you get to the actual day, your wedding day coordinator is the individual who is responsible in making sure that you, as an individual, enjoy your actual day. And you hand off everything to us. So there's different packages, different types of accommodations that can be done. So typically, we'll start with full service in the Dallas area from $5,000 to $15,000. And this is your full wedding planning for a planner who typically will take care of budget creation. They'll take care of seating assignments. I will say most people are kind of gearing towards no seating assignments versus actual having seating assignments, but it's still, some individuals are still traditional into that. I will say I've worked with different wedding planners who have different little things that they offer in their packages. My biggest thing to anybody who is going to be getting married and you're booking a wedding planner, understand specifically what they're taking care of. Because while some packages may be $15,000, they may not include the specific things that you need. Because let's say you are creative in different types of ways, where you are perfect with booking your own gown appointments, or you know specifically the type of um, venue you would like, and that's something that you want to take care of yourself. Or if you have friends who are going to be incorporated into your wedding planning services. Those little things you want to take a look at each packet and each wedding planner that you are speaking with to figure out how you can customize and how you can actually take control of your wedding event. You also want to meet with your wedding planners. You want to make sure that your wedding planners are doing your vision. As a wedding day coordinator, my goal is to make my bride and my groom happy. I don't forget the grooms. I try to make them as happy as possible on their day. That sometimes does include handling individuals who like to overstep on certain special days. We've had to deal with the matron of honor who likes to have the spotlight. We've also had to deal with even the best man who's crying over losing his bromance, and being emotional support for them as well. Crazy things that happen. But for wedding day services, which I do know some wedding day planners, typically this is what's included. But again, you have to make sure that if you're going to go with the full package, just like venues, you understand specifically what it includes. And read that contract, make sure that it's detailed and that you understand what they're going to cover so that you know what to expect every step of the way. Typically, as you guys saw, you start 12 months in advance, and that's your typical timeline. And you want to make sure that you have the first thing, as everyone said, budget. What is your budget? And also, for myself, when I got married, I did not want an actual wedding. I'm the only daughter, so I kind of had to have a wedding. And my mom, she actually ended up working with a wedding planner to put it all together because I was not in the mind. We had 6 months, that's all we had. And they decided to throw it all together. The cool thing about having a wedding planner is I didn't do anything. All I did was put on my dress, show up, and be like, and I placed my dress on twice because she actually set up the photographer and I had a wedding session, just bridal session. And I also had my photography at the venue itself as well. So all I had to do was put on a dress, didn't have to worry about anything else. I'm pretty sure my mom had to worry about other little minor details. I think the only job I had was the cake. And I managed to mess that up too because I ended up with 250 individuals, and my cake was for 150. But you know what? It was my wedding and I wasn't gonna care. You got a cake, great. If you didn't, well, that's too bad. But like I said, starting the earliest you can start on, the better. And really understanding that wedding planners are there to assist you. And when you are actually booking someone, you want to get to know them, want to make sure that your vision is what's being translated over, not so much the wedding planner. Because there are some wedding planners that they understand the wedding industry, but again, their taste may not be your taste, and you want to make sure that they're listening to you, your needs as well. Will we advise certain things along the way, just because we know the industry? Of course. But at the same time, if it doesn't align with your vision, we're not going to force that upon you. Just like when you're wedding gown shopping, if that doesn't feel like your dress and you're not ready to say yes, let us know. We also want to make sure that your day is about you ultimately. Partial planning packages usually vary from 1,000 to 500, 5,500. These are good plans. So take a look at wedding planners and the types of plans that they have, especially if the couple is very involved in their wedding planning. I've gotten to know a groom who was the groomzilla, not the bride. The bride could care less. I don't know, ask him. But the groom was very specific to the T. Day coordinating for that specific couple was interesting because I kept going into the groom suite versus the bridal suite. I'm like, this is all weird because I've never had to do it. But he was very artistic, his vision had to be perfect for their wedding day. Very romantic individual. I could see why the bride loved him. But at the same time, he was very involved. And so I actually worked with a wedding planner who couldn't be there. And so she ended up hiring me to be their wedding day coordinator. And typically he was handing everything over to me the day of his wedding. And that was stressful for him because he was like, oh my God, like, this is my baby. I took care of this from beginning to end. And I was like, we'll take care of it. We'll execute accordingly. There's going to be bumps here and there, but it's okay. No worries. And I will say, for individuals that are that involved in their wedding planning, you want to make sure that if you're going to have a wedding planner and there's going to be a partial package, that you two are able to figure out where your creativity is going to go into this. And the day of, most, even partial wedding packages or full wedding packages do include a wedding day coordinator. If they don't, I would ask them what their services are for day of, because they may not call it a wedding day coordinator, they may just already be there. But most of the time they call it wedding coordination of the day. So just be mindful of those partial planning packages and what they include as well, because again, in the industry, there's different types of planners. And even when you look at some wedding planners that have a full package service, it may just be a partial planning service. So take a look into those details, really speak to those individuals, make sure that they're understanding your vision and the needs that they have for you. Moving on for wedding day of coordination, that's what I do. So I really, these packages vary from 500 up to 3,000, just depending on what's included. Most of the time, you'll see hourly rates for those individuals for wedding day coordinating. For individuals who have planned their wedding and it's their baby from the very beginning all the way to the end, and they don't really need a wedding planner, but day of, they're not trying to deal with the nonsense of the chaos. That's where we come in. We are going to take care of that baby for you. Make sure it executes the day of. Make sure that we talk to your venue, your photographer. Make sure that we get all of your guests seated where they need to go. It's very interesting for sometimes when I've been to weddings and there isn't a coordination where guests are standing in places where they're not supposed to be. And let's say the bride is coming out from that specific place. And you're like, wait, no, everybody go sit down. You don't have that specific person who's going to be able to guide them. That's not to say there's some friends that brides may have that are super detailed, super coordinated. They have the skill sets. If you have that type of friend, you don't need a wedding day coordinator. But let's face it, a lot of the times, most of our friends are worried about being pretty themselves. And that's when a good wedding day coordinator comes in to be there. We're basically the best friend you never know you need it or have. So day of the wedding, just make sure that you discuss with them their rates. Most of the times they're going to have a base pricing, which will include mileage and will include the meetings that you have with them, either virtual or they could be at the venue. Most of the time, I recommend wedding day coordinators meet at the venue, because even though it's you're coming in, most of the time, I'll meet with my couples a week before the event to get the vendor list finalized and all of those things, make sure timeline is good. We need to be able to see and understand where we're going to keep the bride, especially after the ceremony, because most of the times photographers like after the ceremony to take pictures and get that photography list going. To get those pictures out of the way. Sometimes you're going to do a first look. Sometimes you're going to you're going to have a band and the band is going to walk you out while they're walking with both guests out. And you're going to have that special moment. You want the sparklers to go off, or you have floral petals that you want to be thrown at a specific time. That's what we're there for. We're there to make sure that those dreams and those special moments get executed. A lot of times, brides who don't have wedding day coordination. And the reason I know this is because I am also a wedding officiant. And so I've been to certain weddings where they don't have a wedding day coordinator. And I'm the officiant and I go up to the front And we're waiting there for 30 minutes to figure out when the bridal party is gonna come out. And everybody's like, who's gonna go get them? And I was like, I'll help. I'll go. 1 second, please. I'm the one with the mic. I'll go get him. So that has occurred in the past. So sometimes I've been the wedding official / wedding coordinator, just to help out a little bit when I see those moments where they're not executing the way they are. But with wedding day coordination, same thing. You want to meet with them. You want to make sure that your vision is being covered. We are the individuals that will handle your guest list. We are the individuals who will say no when you cannot say no. I have a funny story. I had a mother of the groom who wanted to be very, very involved in the bridal suite. And the bride is not very happy about having the mother-in-law be so involved in the bridal suite. So I had to make sure that I kept her busy for those special moments when it came to her and her mother, especially when the mother was putting in the earrings and she was putting on the shoes. They were having that mother-daughter moment. She wanted to be there too. So we decided that we were going to have a different task for her at that time. And I made sure that she was completely occupied, making sure her son was okay while mother and daughter did their own thing. And that's typically what we do. You tell us your secrets and we'll execute. We'll make sure, so-and-so does not make it into the party, whomever so-and-so may be. We handle those tasks. So you want to make sure that you are hiring somebody who is very confident with saying no. Hire somebody who's very confident with and professional, because we know that they are our loved ones and we would not want to mishandle them either. But also work with your wedding day coordinators so that they can also be that person that you need them to be the day of. Because when for some reason your DJ doesn't show up, your photographer is running late, we are the individuals who have to come in and troubleshoot, and we need to discuss those points of views before we get to wedding day. Because the day of your wedding, I don't want to come up to you and be like, hey, so this is what's going on, and stress you out. We want to know those things beforehand. So let us know, what do you need us to do? What do you need us to execute? And what is the best way to solve the problem? So think about those things when you're selecting a day of coordinator. Like I said, they're not wedding planners, but they're the individuals that you will hand off all your wedding planning to, and we execute according to your vision. Additional services. So you may know some wedding planners, wedding day coordinators. For instance, I know a lot of brides, as I started doing the wedding day coordinating, a lot of brides started including their pets into their photo shoots. And some of them would contact me on the side and say, hey, do you know anybody who does like jewelry for pets? And my niece actually she does like little beads and braids. So we actually started partnering with her, and we started creating cat little jewelry for individuals who had cats involved in photo shoots. Cats don't typically make it to the wedding. They're not very friendly in that sense. Some are not. And so I actually had some vendor photographers reach out to me with their brides to ask me about some of the jewelries that I have started doing. So they're all on my website, and those are some side things that I do. But also do wedding rehearsal coordination. Those are some additional things. Not most of the time, those things are not included if you're contacting a wedding day coordinator. If you're contacting a wedding planner, make sure that wedding rehearsal coordination is part of your plan if that's something that you need. Because most of the time, even if there are full packages, wedding rehearsal is not included. It's its own little thing, depending on what you need. If we're doing full coordination, dinner plans, all those things, or if we're just doing a walkthrough, you have to make sure that those things are included. When it comes to notary, I'm a notary public, so sometimes I do guide my couples from the time of how to obtain their wedding license. A lot of times for military folks, we don't get to be there to obtain the wedding license. And so a lot of times, most of their grooms or brides need to go into getting that without having their partner with them. And so I do send affidavits remotely for those couples. And so that's something else that I do. And then engraving and vinyl for wedding decor, those are just some of the things that we include in our services. But wedding day coordinators who have been in the industry do have other little things that they can add on to their services. And also, most of the time, they're charging you an hourly rate for additional services. And they may not include it in their packaging, but there's an hourly rate for them to be able to include other things, such as, for instance, if you want to go to the venue and you want to figure out a photography list with the photographer, but you're not available, so you want them to go with them to really hash these things out. Those things could be included with an hourly rate, and you can add those onto the package. So really consider those things. Wedding day coordinators typically go base price, hourly rate. Wedding planners, they do everything from the very beginning and hand on over to wedding day coordinator. So think about those little things. And always ask what their additional services are. They get creative. Budget-friendly tips. So these are just some things that I've learned from my experience with different individuals. Again, there are certain things in your budget that are non-negotiable. Venue, photography. One thing for me is I wasn't so keen about videography. Like I really didn't care for videography because in my thinking, I enjoy photography more than I do videography. So when my husband and I got married, I just wanted the photography and I didn't have the stenographer. So I did not hire them. So think about those things. What is a non-negotiable for you and what is something that you really do want? So for instance, wedding invitations. Do you care to have a wedding invitation? There's some people that want the whole big package come in a box and then something pops up and sprays at you. If that's your go, I wouldn't go paperless, but those are some things that you can save money on. If for some reason you are selecting a venue in Texas, usually November through March, excluding holidays, are typically the times that they're looking for those off-peak dates. Think about doing a wedding, especially if you're doing a micro wedding and you don't have a lot of guests. And most of those guests are willing to take off, use some of their PTO to come to your wedding. Think about those, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday dates, because those are typically the dates that are not being used and you get really good deals. So think about that, especially if you are doing a small wedding. If you're doing a small wedding, think about those off dates. Guest list hacks. So your guest list, think about the individuals who have known the couple for one of the rules that my husband and I had is if they have not met us up to this point together, maybe they shouldn't be included. Because we ended up with 500 people in our guest list. And I was like, no, we need to figure this out. So one of the rules that we did was if the individual who's invited has not met us and we've been together for 5 years and they haven't met us together as a couple, you're not invited because I haven't seen you in 5 years. What's the point? So think about those facts. Make those rules. What is a rule in order to do your guest list? Photography. Sometimes photographers charge by the hours. Sometimes they have a base price. If you are being charged by the hour, I would really consider having a photo shoot list to give to the photographers. And include them in the conversation because they are artists. So they're the ones with the vision. But also we want to understand what are your non-negotiables and what are some shoots you want to do. And so you have a list of things that you can incorporate into your timeline and then your photographer and your wedding day coordinator can coordinate together and have that specific beautiful moment for you. That works. Also, very funny story. When I was planning my brother's wedding, I forgot to order the filling for the actual centerpieces for all the tables. We had pumpkin centerpieces. I got the main flowers, but I forgot the filling. I didn't order it. So I took my cousin and myself and my other cousin, and we went to this meadow and fields in Texas, and we ended up clipping some stuff. Luckily, there was a Japanese kind of garden that had been abandoned, and they had beautiful flowers and fields. And I was like, that's where we're going. We're gonna go cut some. I was like, they don't need to know. My brother, my sister-in-law had no idea. They were just like, wow, these what is it? These centerpieces are just so beautiful. I was like, I know. Little did you know I was about to get stung by a bee, but whatever. So think about those things. If you have a friend that has a garden, if you have individuals who have a good hand for gardening, or not only that, it doesn't have to be flowers. Doesn't have to be flowers. There are some venues that will allow for candles, sometimes other types of decor. Think outside the box because you never know what could be. Sometimes less is more, and it makes it much more beautiful. So think about those things. A cake hack that we do have is, for instance, my favorite cake. I know this is gonna sound so terrible. It's the Costco sheet cake.
That's
I
a
love
popular one.
I love it. I don't, but it's just the way it tastes with coffee. It's just, okay. So one time we had a bride and she did not want to spend so much money on the cake. So what we ended up having is a small tier cake for her, and we ended up buying 3 sheet cakes from Costco, and we ended up giving that to the guests, and they got to keep their little cake for themselves at their own table, and they ended up eating from there. So that's a good cake hack. But also think about, a lot of people are not eating cake anymore. So as you guys see, our little display table over there, we have pretzels, we have cookies. Miss Felicia is here with us today, and I invited her because she made some cookies with my logo that was just. So she's able to do those customizations, but think about those things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cake. It could also be, something other than cakes, fruits, also works as well. So that's it for me. I'm Oh My Campus. If you need a wedding day coordinator, wedding officiants, and I also do other little things on the side. Get in touch with you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Have a dinner tonight. I have to be to an end. So thank you, everybody, for sharing some of your information. Sure to share with my daughter and share.
Absolutely.
Thank you. No, you're good.
No worries. Enjoy your dinner.
Thanks.